It's a rainy night in Cardiff, but the criminals are still out there, and so are the police trying to keep us safe. We've been given special access to a unit tackling knife crime in the capital city. Patrolling in unmarked cars, they're on the lookout for drugs and the weapons that go with them. We've protected their identities. Knife crime is still a problem.
It's still there. It's still there. As I said, it's just because violence is the only way a lot of organised crime and drug dealers can enforce their debt. We don't have people generally habitually carrying weapons, but if they want to go out and sort an issue out, then they will arm themselves to do that.
It's not long before the officers spot a suspicious vehicle. The car's owner was previously in trouble for brandishing a machete in the street. Given the driver's history, the team are taking no chances. Using 2 police cars, they stop the driver and make it impossible for him to escape. It's the sort of manoeuvre they're used to performing.
Handcuffs have been applied, obviously because of the links to weapons and the machete, so to keep us safe and keep anybody else safe. And also with drugs, some people, when they panic, they might try and swallow any drugs they've got on them, which then puts them at risk.
With the driver detained, the team carry out a fingertip search of his vehicle, looking for drugs and weapons. But on this occasion, they don't find anything incriminating. Well, a driver of the car there has previously been involved in knife crime, which is why police stopped him. They've searched his vehicle and found nothing now, so he is free to go about his business. In fact, it's a quiet shift for the team, who confiscate drugs but no knives. But it's not always this way.
There'll always be a market for drug dealers because it's supply and demand, and there's a demand, so there'll be a supply.
Sadly, knife crime is never far from the headlines. In 2020, 4 men were convicted of the murder of 17-year-old Harry Baker in a drugs-related stabbing in Barry. Last summer, Ryan O'Connor, 26, was fatally stabbed and robbed in Newport. Wes knows all about knives and the damage they can do. At the age of 16, while working as a drugs courier in Newport, he was set upon by a gang and stabbed.
All I remember, I felt hot, then a cold, then like a tingling sensation going down my left side. And as I looked, just literally my whole left side, it was red, and it's literally dripping off each finger. It was dripping off me, and clearly I've been stabbed at this point.
Wes needed life-saving surgery and was unconscious for 5 days. When he woke, he found his distraught grandparents at his bedside.
My grandparents are there, crying, very upset, and the reason they were upset is because what the doctor was saying. The reason I was alive was because the call was made in time. That was it, nothing else. And my grandparents actually said, they watching, the surgeons operating on their grandson.
Well, what would you say to any young person watching this, thinking about getting involved in knife crime or drugs or that world?
I would say the same thing as I've always said. Do you know where you're going if you go down there? Whether you get involved in dealing, whether you pick up that knife, do you know where you're going if you go down that road? Because when you think about it, really, well, especially when it comes to knives, whether you use it, either way, one gets used on you. You use it, one gets used on you. Either way, it doesn't end well. No matter how you look at it, it won't end well.
Wes's story is one of those featured in an anti-knife crime video being shown at the new community centre in Cardiff's Grangetown. Statistics show those who carry knives are more likely to be stabbed themselves. Just one fact learned by youngsters.
I never took knives very seriously because I never knew people would actually die from this. But yeah, don't carry knives and don't play with them.
Did you know that it was a criminal offence just to carry a knife?
I did, yeah. But I didn't think it's 4 years long, like a sentence. It's quite a lot.
He was walking past behind me, just, stabbed me in the back.
Ibby, himself a former stabbing victim, went on to become a successful footballer. He now shares his experiences with young people. How useful do you think a session like this would have been when you were growing up?
Yeah, it would benefit me in so many different ways. It would build up my confidence, and obviously it would open my eyes and not hang around with wrong people as well.
Knife crime is down in Wales. Progress, says the boss of the Wales Violence Prevention Unit, largely down to community work, like the session in Grangetown. Is it almost important that perhaps the message comes from anyone other than the policeman, do you think, when it comes to sort of educating youngsters about this?
It's really important that that message comes from friends, from family, from teachers, from other members of the community. It's certainly not just a policing issue.
What would you say to a young person watching who's thinking of carrying a knife?
One of the worst things you can do is to carry a knife. It puts yourself and others at risk. It puts your future at risk, and it puts your life at risk. So my message would be, don't be the one, don't carry a knife.
It's not a new message, and sadly not everyone will hear it. But if there's any chance of stopping even one more life being lost, it's surely worth repeating. Richard Morgan, ITV News.